Donald Trump has no clue about the role the USA has played since the end of World War II. To stop the Soviet Union, Communist China, Communist Korea, Communist Vietnam, and so on, the capitalist USA put itself on the global stage as the world's policeman. To prevent Europe falling to communism, which would be disastrous for the USA poured in money to Europe and had a vast military presence in Europe. The USA had of course to pay to be world policeman. No one was going to pay the USA. Being the world policeman is an immense privilege and responsibility. It's not a freebie. You have to pay through the nose to exercise this role. Joe Biden understood the American role. He gave a fortune to Ukraine to help it survive the unprovoked Russian onslaught on it. In the old days, the USA would have had boots on the ground to stop Russia. Since the Afghanistan debacle, those days are over. No one takes the US military seriously now. With all their high tech, they couldn't defeat bearded tribesmen with Kalashnikovs and RPGs. These days, you could defeat the American army with a bunch of $5 drones. The Ukrainians have done that to the Russians. Russia, if it were like America, would have surrendered to Ukraine by now. Can you imagine the USA accepting 1 million soldiers dead and wounded? The Americans don't have the stomach for that. Biden at least understood the need to make a huge contribution to Ukraine if the USA were to maintain any pretense of remaining as a world power that everyone ought to fear and take seriously. Today, Donald Trump says that America will act militarily only if it gets paid. It's all a business transaction. So, if Ukraine pays America, America will give weapons to Ukraine. If Russia pays America, Russia will get the weapons. Which means of course that the USA no longer has any global philosophy or morality. It has no strategic vision. It has no coherent foreign policy or position. It will help anyone who ponies up, and if you don't pony up then America doesn't want to know. If China isn't making ready to take Taiwan, I'll eat my hat. Trump couldn't care less, well, unless Taiwan gives him money and minerals and microchips. Europe knows that the USA has ceased to be the leader of the West and the world policeman. It's now just some rogue state across a big ocean, full of Christian Zionist nutcases who think the second coming is imminent. This is the fucking 21st century, not the Bronze Age. America has gone. It has fallen off the edge of the flat earth it still believes in. It has surrendered its position as leader of the Western world policeman. It's increasingly irrelevant on the world stage. If Europe builds up a huge military, such as it had before World War I, when it was the world's superpower, the last thing it will be doing is paying any attention to the USA and its wants and needs. The USA paid Europe not to rearm so that it could dominate Europe. If Europe has fully rearmed, why the fuck would it need the USA or care about the USA, or even regard the USA as a friend and ally? In the next few decades, the USA and Europe will have diverged so much that they could end up in a world war against each other. All of this has flowed from the policies of Donald Trump, a complete imbecile with no comprehension of history, and the role the USA has painstakingly carved out for itself. America's prominence is done. That's all over now. The USA is just a Billy the Kid gun for hire, an amoral mercenary looking for the highest bidder for its services. It's a joke now. No one respects it. And soon enough it will be caught in the Thucydides trap. The USA will lose its mind when a rearmed Europe, a much bigger power with a far larger population, not only stops taking any instructions from the USA, but directly opposes it. And Donald Trump, who thinks that war is a business opportunity and a real estate prospect, Trump Towers in Gaza, is responsible for all of this. Well, it was the people who voted for him who are actually to blame, of course. Not that any of them will ever hold up their hands and be accountable.